Shalom. This is your servant Sion. Welcome to another study. We're going to do a part two for Parasha Chayei, and it's dealing with marriage, where Isaac got married to Rebecca, to Rivka, and it's a very interesting for our young people and for those who want to get married to know the steps to take and the best way to approach finding the love of your life, that the Lord would choose that person for you. And we're going to go through these steps today in this portion. We're going to be reading Genesis chapter 24, verses 1 to 4. Now Abram was old, when well advanced in years, and the Lord had blessed Abram in all things. And Abram said to his servant, the oldest of his household, who had charge of all that he had, put your hand under my thigh, that I may make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and earth, and the God of the earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell, but go to my country and to my kindred and take a wife for my son Isaac. And it's interesting because Abraham, through the Ruach HaKodesh, know that eventually this would be a command that God would give to the children of Israel in the Torah when they left Egypt. And he also knew that Canaan was cursed. Cursed be Canaan. And he was taught by Noah and Shem. And Noah is the one that cursed Canaan. So Abraham knew he didn't want his son to marry a Canaanite. And it was very important that this holy child, this promised child, the seed which the Lord promised Abraham, the child of the promise, would not marry a Canaanite. And he said, go unto my kindred and take a wife for my son Isaac. And it's important for us to understand that we ought to marry people of the same faith, people of the spiritual family, people of a certain background. You can't just pick up anyone and get married to them because of how they look or certain things. We got to be very careful that we ask God to lead and guide us in a lifelong relationship, because marriage supposed to be till death do you part. Marriage supposed to be lifelong relationship, because children will be involved, assets will be involved, and there's a lot to lose when a marriage goes under the bus. There's a lot to lose, a lot of pain. So we got to be very careful when we're choosing a mate or a spouse, and we're gonna go through these instructions today in this parasha. We're gonna read Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 1 to 4, where the Lord instructed Moses concerning the same thing that Abraham was instructing his servant to do for Isaac. Deuteronomy 7 verses 1, when Adonai your God brings you into the land you are entering to possess, and drive out many nations before you, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites, the Canaanites and the Perizzites, the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations more numerous and mightier than you, and Adonai your God gives them over to you, and you strike them down, then you are to utterly destroy them. You are to make no covenant with them and show no mercy to them. You are not to intermarry with them. You are not to give your daughters to his sons, or take his daughters for your son. For he will turn your son away from following me to observe other gods. And this, the Lord, the Most High God, is telling Moses to instruct the children of Israel. And one of the greatest kings, the son of David, the son of David, Melech Shlomo, King Solomon, he disobeyed this instruction, and he married daughters from all of the different nations, and he made gods for them. When he get old, he forsake his God and worship idols. He worship Chemosh, Molech, and all these Ashtoreth and Dagon, all the gods. He worshiped these gods and made grove for them, for his wives, and he ended up losing the kingdom. 10 tribes was taken away from King Solomon and given to his servant Jeroboam, and and only 2 tribes was left for his son Rehoboam to reign, and the kingdom was divided by the result of that. The northern tribes and the 10 tribes took the northern kingdom. Samaria was the capital, and Jerusalem was the capital for the southern kingdom, with only 2 tribes, the kingdom of Yehuda. And it's sad that he disobeyed, and the result of that brought demise upon the children of Israel and the dividing of the kingdom, and they started even fighting each other and killing one another, and civil wars broke out among the tribes, unfortunately. But King Solomon, he did not obey. And if we don't obey, there is consequences to disobeying. When we disobey the will and the commandments of God, we would suffer uselessly when we disobey God. So this instruction, we were not supposed to give our daughters to marry their sons to marry our daughters, and we are to be separate. And I'm going to confirm that in the Brit Hadashah, the same thing. In 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 14, it says, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers, which means marrying them, enter into covenant relationship with them. For what partnership is there between righteousness and lawlessness? Or what fellowship does light have with darkness? What harmony does Messiah have with Belial? Or what part does a believer have in common with an unbeliever? What agreement does God's temple have with idols? For we are the temple of the living God, just as God said, I will dwell in them and walk among them. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Therefore come out from among them and be separate, says Adonai. Touch not the unclean thing, then I will take you in. I will be a father to you, and you shall be my son and daughters, says Adonai of hosts. Sabaoth. Be very careful that you do not try to force a relationship with create a relationship with someone of another faith or another belief, because it's very, very, very dangerous. And he said, do not be unequally yoked together with unbeliever. Be separate and come out from among them, the scripture says. So be very careful. Same principle here. We also going to look at some examples of making this mistake. There was a king, King Ahab, which was one of the dynasties going down from the 10 tribes that was taken away from Solomon. Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, when the 10 tribe was given to him, he decided to make his own feast days. He decided to make his own Torah, his own laws, and he chose a feast on the 8th month, on the 15th day of the month, and he created idols. He made calves in Bethel and in Dan for all the 10 tribes to worship. And they went after these gods, and they said, this is the God that brought you out of Egypt. Israel, Jeroboam caused all of Israel to go astray. The 10 tribes went astray from God, and because he didn't want them to go back to Jerusalem to worship there, lest they would turn back, their hearts would turn back to the King Rehoboam, the son of Solomon. So he was afraid, and therefore that fear caused him to make some horrible mistakes in causing the children of Israel to go into apostasy. And today we have apostasy in Christianity and in many different groups today because of people wanting to do their own thing, want to follow their own laws. They institute Christmas, they institute pagan rituals, pagan festival, Easter, Halloween, All Saints Day, and Good Friday, Ash Wednesday, you name it. There's a lot of institution that's not God given, and people totally ignore, abandon the ones that God Himself had given to follow the doctrine, like Yeshua said, for in vain they worship me, teaching for doctrine the commandments of men, for laying aside the commandments of God, they hold on to men's tradition. And they're worshiping God in vain when you do that. You got to be obedient. So don't follow the apostasy of Jeroboam. And this is what King Ahab did. In 1 Kings 16:31, now as if it was trifling thing to walk in the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, he also took as wife Jezebel, the daughter of King Ithbaal of the Zidonians, and went and served Baal and worshipped him. That's King Ahab. He followed the ways of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, but that was not even everything. It says it was a trifling thing. He decided to go and follow and marry and unequally yoked together with a Zidonian a woman called Jezebel, notorious lady, which worshiped Baal, and it was very bad for King Ahab. Very, very horrible. Now he made a big mistake, and God mentioned that as if it was just a trifling thing to worship the other gods, but he married this Zidonian woman Jezebel, and they worship Baal together. There's another verse, 1 Kings 21:25. And in this verse, you would see the danger of King Ahab in marrying this lady, unequally yoking with her. Surely there was none like Ahab, who sold himself over to do evil in Adonai's eye at the instigation of Jezebel, his wife. So he sold himself. He sold himself to the evil in the eyes of Adonai, instigated by Jezebel, the wife. So if you don't marry a helpmate, a woman that will help you go closer to God, like Sarah, and Abraham's wife, and you marry a Jezebel, you'll be in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. She will cause you to be destroyed by the hands of God. She will lead you astray into more sin and death, like how Eve led Adam into disobedience and death by listening to a woman that have no fear of God and have no regards to God and just after the flesh. You got to be careful. Be careful who you get married to. Now, that is another example in 2 Chronicles chapter 21, 1-6. Jehoshaphat had a son, and we're going to read it, 2 Chronicles chapter 21, 1-6. Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers and was buried. Jehoshaphat was a righteous king of the tribe of Judah, David tribe, David dynasty. So you had David, Rehoboam, then you had Abijah, then you had Asa, then you had Jehoshaphat. And Jehoshaphat died. He slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David. Jehoram, his son, became king in his place. His brothers, the son of Jehoshaphat, were Azariah, Jahiel, Zechariah, Azariah, Michael, and Shephatiah. All these were the sons of King Jehoshaphat of Israel. Their father had given them great gifts of silver and gold and precious things, along with fortified cities in Judah. But he gave the kingdom to Jehoram because he was the firstborn. And we have to be careful, not because a son is the firstborn, you got to give him all rights. You got to see his spiritual standing, whether he's righteous, whether he fears God or not. Because look what happened. Now, when Jehoram was risen over his father's kingdom and made himself strong, he slew all his brothers with the sword, along with some of the officers of Israel. Jehoram was 32 years old when he became king and reigned in Judah 8 years. And why he did that? He was so wicked? Why did he kill? Your father gave you the kingdom. Why did you kill your brothers and some of the men in Israel? Why? It says he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, just as the house of Ahab did. For Ahab's daughter was his wife. He got married to the daughter of Ahab, the wicked king. Jezebel's daughter he got married to. Mistake. And this caused him to do wickedness. And he did evil in the eyes of Adonai. However, Adonai was not willing to destroy the house of David because of the covenant made with David. And since he had spoken a word to give him a lamp to him and his sons always. So he didn't destroy David's house because the promise he made, but this young man would be destroyed. And this young man brought great demise and hurt upon the Davidic tribe. But what accentuated that and what furthered that was his marriage. It says that he walked in the ways of the kings of Israel just as the house of Ahab did, and he married, for Ahab's daughter was his wife. Be careful. Be careful when you're getting married, who you're getting married to. Be very careful. And then chapter 22, We're going to look at another verse, chapter 22, 2, verse 2. Now, his son, Jehoram's son, verses 2. Look what happened with Jehoram's son, Ahaziah. Ahaziah was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 1 year. He only lasted 1 year because he was killed. He was assassinated. And he reigned 1 year in Israel. His mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri. He too walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother counseled him to do evil. See, the mother was family of Ahab. And the mother counseled him to do evil. He did evil in the sight of Adonai, like the house of Ahab, for they were his counselors after his father's death, to his destruction. So even upon the son, that marriage, the mother brought that destruction upon the son. Jehoram married Athaliah, and Athaliah brought a lot of destruction. She killed all of his brothers after that. He also followed the counsel when he went with Jehoram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, to wage war against Hazael, king of Aram, to Ramoth Gilead. The Arameans wounded Joram, so he returned to Jezreel to recover from his wounds inflicted on him at Ramah when he fought Hazael, king of Aram. And Azariah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to see Jehoram, the son of Ahab, in Jezreel, because he had been wounded. Now, through his coming to Joram, God brought about Ahaziah's downfall. So him visiting that guy, God caused him to visit that guy when he was recovering of his wounds, because the Lord wants to punish him. Now, through his coming to Joram, God brought about Ahaziah's downfall. Upon his arrival, Ahaziah went out with Jehoram against Jehu, the son of Nimshi, whom Adonai had anointed to cut off the house of Ahab. So it came to pass that when Jehu was executing judgment upon the house of Ahab, he came upon the officers of Judah and Azariah relatives, who had been attending Azariah, and slew them, and then searched for Azariah, who was caught hiding in Samaria. Then they brought him to Jehu, put him to death, and buried him, for they said, he is the son of Jehoshaphat, who sought Adonai with all his heart. Then there was no one in the house of Azariah to hold power over the kingdom. And his wicked mother ended up, when she found out that Ahaziah got killed by Jehu, she killed all of the little sons that he had, all of his children, and they saved only one, Joash. Jehoiada, the priest, saved Joash. And there's another story about that later on. But she killed, the wicked Athaliah killed, and she reigned as queen until Joash grew to be 7 years old. And Jehoiada caused Joash to take the kingdom and assassinated that wicked woman. But the destruction came of this bad marriage. The bad marriage, be careful. So this is one of the things that Abraham knew could be a result of Isaac being married to someone that is not prescribed by God. There is 9 steps in the marriage of Isaac that we want to look at in this portion. 9 steps. It's very interesting. The first step is that Abraham gave counsel to his servant not to marry the Canaanites. So you have to take counsel of the Lord. You have to seek for counsel. If you're going to marry someone that is not of the same faith or unequally yoked and not seeking the counsel of God, be very careful that you take counsel from the Lord. Like Abraham counseled his servant to find a wife from my relative, from my family, that for my son, and that he don't marry the Canaanite, which accursed people, which the Lord already have promised to bring destruction upon them. And that's why the children of Israel was to destroy them completely. Don't make no covenant with them, and don't let their sons and their daughters be married to them. So take counsel when you're going to get married, young people. The second step, you pray. You pray. And for the counsel in Genesis 24, where Abraham gave counsel, the Lord, he said, the Lord God, in verse 7, Genesis 24:7, he said, the Lord God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my kindred, who spoke to me and swore to me, to your offspring I will give you this land. He will send his angel before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there. So Abraham counseled his servant and let him know that the angel of the Lord will lead you and direct you and find a wife for my son. Don't be afraid. He took counsel. The other step is to be prayerful. Pray. You're the one who perhaps for this, the servant of Abraham was the matchmaker for Isaac. But even if you don't have a matchmaker, you have to pray like Isaac prayed. Isaac was a prayerful young man, and the matchmaker who's going in the place of Isaac to choose a wife for Isaac, which was, some believe it was Eliezer, the chief servant of Abraham. This matchmaker had to pray. So don't forget to pray and ask God for guidance in choosing this wife. Genesis 24:10-14. Then the servant took 10 of his master's camel and departed. Take all sorts of choice gifts from his master, and he rose and went to Mesopotamia, to the city of Nahor. And he made the camels kneel down outside of the city wall of water at the time of evening and the time when women would go out to draw water. And he said, O Lord, he prayed, O Lord God of my master Abraham, please grant me success today and show steadfast love to my servant Abraham. Behold, I'm standing by the spring of water, and the daughter of the men of the city are coming to draw water. Let the young woman to whom I shall say, please let down your jar that I may drink, and who shall say, drink, and I will water your camels, let her be the one whom you have appointed for my servant Isaac. By this I shall know that you have shown steadfast love to my master. So he prayed to God and asked for signs to prove, to identify the woman that God chose for Isaac. And he prayed and he trusted in God, just like Abraham trusted in God. So he truly learned the values of Abraham, and this servant truly exercised the skills to find the divine, the divine appointment for Isaac, choosing the wife, the wife of his youth, the wife that was chosen, or from the foundation of the world, his soulmate, the one that was chosen for him. The other step is to look for good qualities. And in verses 16-21, the young woman was very attractive in appearance, a maiden whom no man had known. She went down to the spring and filled her jar and came up. Then the servant ran to meet her and said, please give me a little water to drink from your jar. She said, drink, my lord. And she quickly let down her jar upon her hand and gave him a drink. When she had finished giving him a drink, she said, I will draw water for your camel also until they have finished drink. So she quickly emptied her jar into the trough and ran again to the well to draw water, and she drew for all his camels, 10 camels, and his servants. The man gazed at her in silence. He saw the evidence, he saw the signs, he saw the proof to learn whether the Lord had prospered his journey or not. But he had to ask who she was. So he looked and observed in silence. Wow, everything is working out. So therefore, he looked for godly qualities. She was hospitable, she was kind, and she also was led by God to fulfill this prayer to show that she was the one. So she had good qualities. Look for a woman that is hospitable, that is kind, woman of character, woman that's not lazy. She drew water for all the camels. He found a woman of quality for Abraham's son. Okay, the other sign is signs of approval. The next step is ask God, look for the signs that God is in it. Look for the signs of approval. You can know when the Lord is doing something. The Lord is known by the judgment he executes and by his works and his power. He's known by his mighty acts. You can know. And this servant steadfastly watching to see, wow, that the Lord have truly prospered me. He saw the signs. And to prove the signs from 48 to 50, we're going to look at verse, you look for good quality, signs of approval, 48 to 50. And let's look at it. Then I bowed my head, he said. He was reiterating the story to the family, how he met Rebecca. He said, then I bowed my head and worshipped the Lord, and I blessed the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who had led me by the right way to take the daughter of my master's kinsman for his son. Now then, if you are going to show steadfast love and faithfulness to my master, tell me. If not, tell me, that I may turn to the right hand or to the left. And they sought for the signs of approval. Then Laban and Bethuel answered and said, the thing has come from the Lord. We cannot speak to you either bad or good. So they knew that this matchmaking and the coming together of these couple were of the Lord. So they saw the signs. Another thing too, the young man had to bring gifts and dowry. In verses 22, there's gifts that the servant brought. You can't just come for a wife empty-handed. He brought 10 camels of goods. When the camel had finished, verse 22 says, when the camels had finished drink, the man took a gold ring weighing a half shekel, and 2 bracelets for her arms weighing 10 gold shekels. And he said, please tell me whose daughter you are. Is there room in your father's house to spend the night? And he said, I'm the daughter of Bethuel. And that proved that she was of the kindred that Abraham was looking for. And all these signs came true, and the prayer was answered. And he gave her gifts. And this is to show you, young man, when you're getting married, all that you have belongs to your wife. Everything you have, it belongs to your wife. Everything. And everything you will continue to have, everything you're going to acquire in the future will belong to your wife. Everything belongs to her. So you will pay the rest of your life for that wife. And because she's your wife is your one flesh. And you're one, and when you invest in your wife, you invest in yourself, and that's the idea. You are one, so you got to give everything. And so the signs of approval, you have to bring gifts and dowry. Also, he didn't only give to the wife, he also gave to the family. Verses 53, and the servant brought out jewelry and silver and gold and garments and gave them to Rebekah. Also he gave to her brother and to her mother costly ornaments. The father was already dead. Bethuel was dead, so he gave the gifts to the mother and to the brother. All these gifts they gave to the family. So you got to bring a dowry. That's the dowry. You got to pay a price for your wife. You have to give everything for your wife. And this is the same thing Yeshua did. He gave his life for the church, for the congregation. He gave everything, and he also gave gifts unto men. He led captivity captive, and he gave gifts. He manifests the Ruach HaKodesh, the fruits of the Spirit, and the Lord gives gifts. He brings healing to us. He gave us the gifts of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. He gave us the power of healing, the power to cast out devils. We get these gifts from this because Yeshua is like the husband, like Isaac getting married to Rivka. And it's the same principle here. Yeshua, as he got married to the congregation, he got married to the believers. The same way he gave, the parallel is there, how Isaac it's a wedding feast. And it's a wedding, it's a matchmaking and a great wedding with the groom and the bride, the church and Yeshua, Isaac and Rebekah. Because Isaac is a type of Mashiach, is like a shadow of Mashiach. And let's say Rebekah is the church, and Mashiach is Isaac. Isaac is Mashiach. It's the same principles. All these principles can be applied. how Yeshua prayed as counsel from the Father. Who is the disciples? Which one he chose? He said, I have chosen you 12. And he said, no one can come to me except the Father who have sent me. Draw him. He asked counsel of the Father for his disciples. And he said, the Lord added to the congregation such as should be saved. So the Lord is who brings people into. We are all taught of God, and all those that come to him. No one can come to him except the Father who sent him draws them. So we need to understand the same principles are applied. And you're looking for the qualities of God-fearing, of humility, of making the teshuvah, of repentance. And he gave us the gifts of the Spirit. And then the approval of God. When God sends the Ruach HaKodesh in our lives, all of that is approval of God. And then we have to leave our family behind. When we get married, the sixth principle, you have to leave your family behind. And we're going to see that in 55 to 58. Look at this. Her brother and her mother said, let the young woman remain with us a while, at least 10 days. After that she may go. But he said to them, do not delay me, since the Lord has prospered my way. Send me away that I may go to my master. They said, let us call the young woman, and ask her. And they called Rebekah and said to her, will you go with this man? She said, I will go. This was a wise woman. So they went away. So they sent away Rebekah with their sister. So they sent away Rebekah, their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant and his men. So Rebekah did not hesitate. She went. She will go. She left her family. She left everything without hesitation. She understood that she is now going to cleave to her husband. She's going to start her own family. She's going to have her own. So yes, you could love your family. You have relationship with your family, but understand that in this relationship, you have to leave family, leave father and mother. That's what the scripture says. Yeshua said that in Matthew 19. Leave father and mother and cleave to your wife. You got to cleave. You got to leave. And your wife have to leave father and mother. Rebekah left and went with Isaac without hesitation. It's important when you're going to get married, you got to leave everybody behind and cleave to your spouse. Very important. And then the seventh principle, Isaac was a praying man. He put God first. Isaac considered God, and he was a godly man. He was a priest. He was the priest of his house. And if God is the foundation, your marriage will work. And Isaac, look at what he was doing in verse 63. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field towards the evening. And he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, there were camels coming. Wow. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes. So Isaac, while he's seeking God, the Lord provided the wife. Isaac had nothing to do with going and get Rebekah. The father, God, let's say Abraham is in the place of God, and he sent his servant, and his servant get the wife and brought the wife to Isaac. So God is working out. God is choosing the wife for you. God is preparing the wife for you. God has prepared her from the foundation of the world. And God is going to put, the angel of God is going to put the desire in her. And God is going to put the desire in her that when she sees you, she will love you. So therefore, you don't need to worry about running after here, running, looking around, running, killing yourself to find a wife. God will provide that wife. Just delight yourself in the Lord, and he'll grant you the desires of your heart. And you seek the Lord with all your heart, and go and pray and meditate, and the Lord will bring that wife right to you. And that's what happened with Isaac. He was praying. The eighth principle, the wife in verses 65, the wife now, Rebekah, look what she did. In verse 65, and said to the servant, who is that man walking in the field to meet us? The servant said, it is my master. So she took her veil and covered herself. It's important. This is why in the Jewish community, the married woman, they cover their hair. They, not only in the congregation when praying, they cover their hair always, except when they go before their husband. In the privacy of their husband, in their home, they take off the covering, because their nakedness and their beauty is not for people out there. It's not for men, but it's for the husband. That's why the scripture says that do not go with your husband's wife, your father's wife, or your your sister, for you see, this is the nakedness of your father. This is the nakedness of, because the woman body, that nakedness is for the husband. That nakedness is not for everybody to see. Today, women are dressing anyhow, exposing themselves, showing all of their private, showing all of their body, and that nakedness belongs to the husband's eye. So when she realized she's now approaching marital status, she covered herself. And she took a veil and covered herself. Because now I belongs to Isaac. I have to respect him. Everything here is for his eyes and his eyes alone to see. And therefore, she covered herself to show respect for the husband. And that the privacy of the home, when they consummate the marriage, she uncovered herself. This is for you, Isaac. And this is the principle. Then one more. Step 9, we're going to read verse 67. And Isaac brought her. Now this principle is basically for the man to understand. You have to leave father and mother, cleave to your wife also. That this principle is for the man. The wife becomes like your mother. She is going to feed you. She's going to cook for you. All the things that your mom did for you when you were a child, your wife is going to, she's cooking for you. She's nourishing you. She's going to be there for you. It's like a mother. She's going to take them. Because look at this. Then Isaac brought her into the tent of Sarah, his mother, and took Rebekah. And she became his wife. So now her nakedness he can see. And he loved her. And so Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. And therefore he was comforted by his wife. What he felt, what he lost from his mother, his wife replaced. The wife is a complete package for a man. So therefore love your wives. You need your wife. It's not good for a man to be alone. It's not good, Hashem said. The Lord said it's not good. Love your wife. Cherish her. Lay down your life for her. Everything you have belongs to her. May the Lord bless her. I hope this portion was a blessing to you in Yeshua's name. Bye-bye.